is being recorded.
Got a winner?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call to order the meeting for Thursday, July 18th, 2024. Was it confirmation of proper notice given?
Yes, we have it posted by the 5th of July, which it conforms with statutory requirements.
John, you want to do roll call, John?
Absolutely. Alan?
Here.
Sue?
Here.
Tiffany?
Here.
Gus?
Here.
Peter?
Yeah.
And we have two owners. So we have a quorum and we're in business.
Actually, I'm a member.
That's right, you are. We have one owner. That's you and Chris. That's right. You're
Okay.
here. I'm so used to being here for every meeting. Yeah, you're right. So,
Okay, Chairman's comments. The only comment I had is that that email, Tiffany, you sent to John about passing out the leaflets to John Brown's people.
Yeah.
I think in lieu of, I think it's a touchy situation going around and passing out leaflets to somebody else's workers. Maybe if you wanted to give it to John Brown and let him decide if he's going to give it to the workers, give it to the foreman, or whatever. It's kind of tough. Like
I will say that
like if John sends our crew out in the morning and then the crew comes back and says some people gave us suggestions on how to do our job. You understand what I mean?
oh yeah, and I didn't intend to imply that John's not training his employees. It was more to identify which plants get which cut according to what the board voted for. Because like in the past 2 years that we've had the different cut, each year we have some problems with, they cut according to the leaves and not according to the stems, or they don't know how to identify different trees. And so like last year, one of the big Senegal date palms got a really aggressive cut, and it is just recovering now, so it doesn't need to be cut again this year. So just little things like that where they hire a lot of temp workers, and the guys aren't necessarily tree experts to know that this is a Senegal date palm, this is a sable palm or whatever. And so I wanted to just put pictures of each tree that we have rules around next to the cut that we want, so that they know that like these trees get this cut, these trees get this cut. And it's not supposed to be an insult to their intelligence. It was just supposed to be a clear communication and a good guide for them to know what the board has voted for. That was
No, that part I agree with you, but do you see where I'm coming from? If you say you're running a crew
yeah.
and you've given them their work to do for the day, and they come back and say, somebody came up and handed me this. I think it's better if you go through John Brown and let him hand them out.
Well, that's fine. No one's gonna go up to the crew and hand them anything. I'm not gonna do it. That's why we gave it all
Yeah.
to John, our manager, so that
Yep.
when he has the crew leaders come in, he can give them the flyers and just say, here's a identification guide for your teams for this year. Proceed,
All right, okay, I just, because,
that's my intention, Peter. We'll handle it that way.
all right, okay. Yeah.
I
Yes,
think it's a great tool.
sorry, I didn't mean to put a knock on Browns or anything. Not my intention.
All right, and
Do you have an extra copy of that?
Yeah, that we'll have.
Oh.
I'll have some Alan in on my desk, so I'll give you one.
Okay.
all right, did everybody have a chance to review the minutes of the previous June 20th meeting? Any additions, deletions, corrections? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll motion to accept the minutes.
Second,
I'll second.
okay. Jeff, staff report,
For June, the front of 201, five irrigated arbicola, front of 212, 7 snow queen hibiscus, backside of 214, 1 gardenia at no charge, back of 364, 4 copperleaf, front of 551, 5 hibiscus. Your ending balance for planting only, $5,702.98, and your rainfall for June was 8.7 inches.
Any questions for Jeff? Okay. John, do we have owner's requests?
Well, basically under owner's request, I've got a couple of points. I wanted to give you the status of the tree issue at 141.
Yeah.
That tree came down. We've talked about it at other meetings preceding this one. Took them about 8.5 hours to do it. It was a measure of science, the way they angled it and everything else to bring it down between the leverage of swinging it, cutting it in small pieces without crashing. They didn't hit any roofs. They didn't hit any walls. They didn't do anything like that. The stump is, I would say, about half ground. And they had to stop because it's so close to the wall that the machine itself couldn't function because it would be damaged. Steve and I were out yesterday, and it looks like what we have to do to get rid of everything is remove about 7 foot of the wall, which is partially damaged in itself. Then the stump grinder can get in there, remove the stump in its entirety, and put the wall back together. So that's the plan from on now. Any questions about that?
No.
And they came in at the price of $5,800 as prior proposed. At the same time, because the committee discussed hardwood trees, particularly in B cluster, since they were there working right beside it, we sent a crew over, and the 5 trees there were significantly pruned, if you will, and all the dead wood has remained. So I removed. So I don't think we have an issue there anymore with those particular trees. There's still 3 more in A section that they're going to catch because they got late when they come in and we do the palms, and that should take care of those up in that area. If there are other hardwoods, anybody wants to let me know that we'll want to address when they come.
Yeah, there's one in front of my unit
Okay,
that's got a dead branch, pretty
Alright.
good sized dead branch in it.
and that's 596.
596,
Yeah,
yeah.
596. Okay. Anybody sees anything else, just call me up because we'll be designating certain trees.
Hey, John,
Yes.
out in front of my cluster, that big oak, it's in the, right by the street in the middle.
Yeah.
That's got a bunch of dead up in it too.
Okay. That's V cluster, right?
V, yeah.
Okay. Also in the I guess the realm of trying to save some money, we're asking our crew, but we're directing them to cut properly anything that they can reach with a pole saw as they go along in their trimming. Well, we figured that at least I looked at them, there could be as much as 25 or 30 trees that if we do it in-house, we can save a couple $1,000. So we've kind of changed the policy there as they're going along. And again, although we'll have to forge into their brain to cut it the way we want it to do.
I want them to do it safely. If you got a big old branch coming down
Right.
on top of their head.
Right. So we are working on that, and to go along with the final part of the tree issues, weather permitting, the last week in July, Brown will be back.
Sounds great. Good. All right.
And finally, not finally, but additionally, we received a email from unit owner Marianne Lillis, 519, complaining about no plants at the entry plant at the Cortez entry. She feels that the area has deteriorated to the point that it's embarrassing, at least for her, she says, to come in and see what's there. For at least 6 or 7 years that I know of, because of heat and other issues, we haven't planted there from basically June until September, and usually put everything back in September. But if there was to be a change in protocol, I mean, that's what's on there for discussion.
Can I speak about that issue for a minute, John?
Well, you are the man.
Over the course of probably, I don't know how long, it's been a couple of years, 3 years, whatever. Getting emails, and when I'm there, when I get an email, I like to go and knock on the front door and talk to people in person. So I did that, and everything seemed fine with Mrs. Willis. And the next day there was another email about the same subject. So I did this for a while, and then I answered back and forth with emails. And to tell you the truth, it's like I was banging my head against the wall. The place is a mess. Everything is wrong. Everything's all the time is wrong. And finally, to tell you the truth, I just stopped answering the emails because I didn't know what else to say to her. Other than I just said that, my God, so much is wrong here. Why do you dislike this place so much? And I got no answer. So that's the way it ended between she and I. So this is like a ongoing problem. John will tell you that too. That nothing we do is right. Okay, that's it for me.
Your comment noted. Yes.
Is there a possibility we could do something besides annuals there? Could we do some small crotons or something like that in that flower
Well,
bed?
we've got irrigation, so it's not like there's
Right.
not irrigation, there's drip
Right.
irrigation there, right, Jeff?
Yes,
Well, I suppose, yeah,
we
well,
could try it. The main problem with out there, especially during the summertime, is not only do you get the heat from the sun, you also get the heat from the cars going
Right,
by and the exhaust going by.
Right,
So it's kind of tough to keep anything alive during the summertime, regardless if it's an annual, perennial, or any kind of plant.
uh-huh,
During the wintertime, it's a little better. It's a little cooler. You don't have the traffic from going through, and the irrigation is there all the time regardless. Putting something out there now, I don't think it would be a good idea because the sun's just gonna bake it completely out.
and it's not,
That's
the
my
dirt's
opinion.
not very thick there
No.
either. I mean, the roots get hot,
yeah,
Thank goodness we've got foliage there, but it's just those 2 layers
right,
that everybody expects, And I suppose, you go over to the beach or you go on, on the island, and you can see these great flowers and everything else, but they're also daily watered and
Yeah.
things of that nature,
Yeah.
so we could try anything, I mean, but we try to keep it painted at least, and you paint it and 2 days later, car scrapes against it, it turns black, but what do? Paint that thing about 4 times a year.
Yeah, probably more than that.
Yeah. So we're trying to keep our entrances up to date as possible.
sure.
Yeah.
You could try planting plants.
Well, Tiffany mentioned that the native plant people, might be able to suggest something. As she mentioned, native plants aren't always the prettiest.
Yeah.
But it might not hurt for us to check with them and see if there's something that we could do there that would withstand the heat.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think-
cause I'm trying to look online and it's kind of like, you wouldn't want that one, you wouldn't want
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
I looked a little yesterday too, to see which ones were really heat tolerant and would stay short, because, you don't want
Right.
a tall thing to block the
Yeah.
sign. And I found only maybe like 3 options that weren't dormant in the summer. And none of them were very showy looking. They had some flowers, but yeah, they're the same kind of like small, sweet little wildflowers, not really like a big fluffy bloom that people seem to prefer, I love wildflowers, but, anyways, no ideal situation. I personally don't mind if we leave it empty until it's time to replant, just knowing that anything we put in there is gonna get
It's gonna
cooked.
get cooked, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I suppose it wouldn't do any good to put 2 or 3 different single species there just to see what would happen. It'd probably make it look worse. You know, if you had like an Exor, I know
Well, you got
in my
different
community,
layers, so you
there's in my community, there's a double driveways and it's fairly hot with the pavers and everything like that. But many people have put in the red Exora and they bloom very, very nicely. And I don't know, but if that would be something to put out there or not, yeah.
you know anything about those?
Well, I don't,
Yeah,
here again,
Georgia,
yeah.
I mean, you have the Maori, the Super King, I mean, you have different varieties, you got the orange, the yellow. You'd have to figure out which one's actually gonna be really heat tolerant, because right now, during the summertime, your average heat index is between 102 and 106.
Yeah. I think you're right to just leave it.
Well,
I
and the
think you got a good
Exoras, I mean, even the dwarf ones are still like a foot or two tall. What kind of height are you talking about?
You
Yeah.
couldn't go more than 18 inches, I would assume, because.
Yeah, and you're right, these things get up.
The entrance way was coming out, down, see if there's any cars coming. And given the fact that the sidewalk is right here, you actually have to ink out a little further to go right. Of course, I always go behind the bank, and I don't go Cortez Road because it's a lot easier.
Okay, I think that we're gonna take Tiffany's suggestion right now to replant in September and put something in that's floral and that would be representative of what we want. Maybe.
I agree.
Thanks, Pete.
Well, if you want to try a coreopsis, I have one sitting there that, you know, I bought ages ago and never got in the ground.
Is it in a pot?
It would be, it's in a nursery can. It's a 6-inch nursery can.
Put that out there and see what.
What's a
happens.
coreopsis?
It's a Florida native wildflower. I think it might even be the Florida flower, isn't it? It's a little yellow daisy flower. It's only, but it's short.
Why don't we try it into one of our plant beds versus just putting one plant out front? I might think is,
The bees love them, and butterflies and stuff, they're great.
it's funny how the various cluster plant beds grew differently.
Yes.
I mean, some of the plants died almost immediately. And I think we still have one that's hanging on, you know, and it's like brand new. It's just interesting. But here again, in many instances, the dirt in there is maybe this deep. It's not, you know, and
Well,
the roots are
largest-
getting burned, you
In
know.
my cluster, they reseeded themselves, and so they looked really good until they didn't. And about the time they didn't, I thought they needed to get cut back. And instead, they just kind of disappeared. So, because there was a stage that you're supposed to cut those back. And so they just kind of got pulled out. So, but meantime, when I was at Low, I discovered that there's lots of different varieties of gaillardias, and they had some gaillardias with flowers that were big. And so I think those might have been more accepted by people that didn't like those little tiny wild weedy looking things.
I think that sounds good.
Well, we should plan for, I guess, September to what we want to put in all the boxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, I always get a few calls about, well, you spent some more money that's gonna be gone in 3 months or 4 months. And so, you know, the more tolerant thing you could put in there, the less, you know, you don't pay twice or 3 times for a plant bed.
Oh, yeah, because gaillardias reseeding themselves, they were acting like a perennial.
We had pentas in our cluster and they looked great for a while, for, you know, a good while. But eventually they started to succumb, I guess, to the heat.
Everybody's succumbing to the heat.
Yeah,
Okay, is there any more committee comments?
Yeah, I do. There's a tree on, if you continue this road that's out in front of it towards 34th Street, there's a tree that appears to be dead. I don't know if it's our responsibility or if it's Spring Lake.
That's a pine tree, and it's on ours. It's a,
Tree.
yeah, it's dead. It's dead as a doornail, and you know, it's too big for us, so I guess we're gonna have to have Brown take it down, but it's it's on our property.
Okay,
I'm familiar with it.
I figured from
Sure.
the,
Water beetles.
Hmm?
Water beetles.
Or beetles, okay. Okay, thank you, Alan.
Any other committee comments?
I got an email from 522 that said last time when we were talking about him wanting things edged every week and mowed and the grass removed, or that he didn't want all of those suggestions. He was just giving a list of suggestions for us to potentially pick from. So he didn't want to seem like he was being overbearing or something like that. So anyway, I did drive past 522, and the grass in front of his house is about, so wide, and it is kind of nasty looking. But then right now, there's lots of areas of Wildwood Springs with nasty looking grass. So I don't know if we could stick a few.
We plugged
Grass
it.
plugs
We've
in
already
there or
plugged
something?
it.
Oh,
So we
okay.
already plugged it.
Okay. Well, good. Maybe it'll come back and look gorgeous by
Yeah.
the next time we have a meeting.
You didn't know who that bald-headed guy was, though.
I have just one thing that I
point.
think we have to submit a budget here in early September,
Mhm.
and so we should be thinking about anything we need to change as far as the budget. And one thing I would like to suggest is that we put in some money to hire an arborist. That we really have thousands of trees on this 80 acres. And that having a certified arborist come in and just give us some suggestion. I know the big canary date palms, some of them are showing some yellow leaves that look like there's some kind of a deficiency there. I don't know if it's manganese, magnesium, something like that. But I think having some expertise on that is worth it. So I think, Tiffany and I could take a look at some of the prices that we should perhaps put in our budget. But I think it's worth it for us to have somebody come in and just kind of look the property over and give us some advice.
Good call, and
Yeah, I love that idea. I definitely willing to team up to look at some people. And yeah, Sue mentioned maybe using someone from the Florida Extension Service.
I know Andrew mentioned that last meeting. I
That's
think.
from last month notes, so Susan's just circling something that, Penny had suggested.
Right.
I don't know if
I don't want to take the,
there was a lady there for forever. I don't know if she's
The
retired.
last time I checked with them, they did not have an arborist on
Peggy
staff,
DeSant, okay, Peggy DeSant.
but they would recommend.
but they would have a
People.
horticulturalist, which would tell you about your intervenal chlorosis problems or whatever it is that you're talking about.
Well, you can ask them.
Maybe we should be doing this.
I don't know, I retired.
Oh,
John Brown has 3 arborists on his staff.
yeah, we could talk, he could be one of them we talk to. There's no question about that, but, I mean, we look at it just like we're looking at reserve studies. We're throwing it out there to 3 or 4, see what's going on, so why not?
Do we get to review the budget? I'm not sure how that usually works every
Oh,
year.
yeah, no, you basically, we go over each line item for proposal to the board, so your 10 or 12 items are discussed. Do you want to add to the tree trimming? Do you want to decrease it? Do you want to add to flowers and things of that nature?
Each
So
committee
we go into depth.
committed to the budget
You know,
by
is
a
there,
certain date.
are you looking for the grounds to possibly get an increase? All that stuff is discussed here before it goes to the board. The board gets a total package.
I'd love to include the cost of the new tractor trailer if we were.
Well, we
still
have,
looking at it.
we have to, but that's in reserves. So that's not gonna go with an operating expense. So we're okay there.
Did anything
Yeah.
happen?
John? John,
That's,
when you're talking about the budget, are we gonna have any wiggle room as far as the tractor and the trailer go?
yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. I guess you didn't hear it, Pete. Yeah,
Oh.
we have a reserve that we can count on for that.
Okay,
We don't have to put that in an operating budget.
all right,
And
okay.
we have had no further issues, but as Jeff can probably explain better than I, there are some potential safety issues with it now. The tractor was bought, what, in 2003, and it was used then?
It was bought in 2000, it was used, actually in 1995, it was bought in 2000 used. So you definitely got your money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
It's Kubota, it's a good tractor for his, it tends to like go on its own. It likes to go by itself when it's in the park. Sometimes the park brake doesn't work, so it likes to run off. It's no longer four-wheel drive. We had to have that dismantled because it was leaking. So it's definitely time for a new one.
Okay, all right.
Do we need to
Any other committee comments?
go- yeah.
Yeah, well,
You're working.
let's start with quotes right now on the tractor. I'll bring some quotes in. We've got several. Well, Kubota's one dealer, but we should look at 2 or 3 just
Yeah.
to see. Also, while we're talking about that, I think the tractor's in bad shape. How about the trailer?
Ouch.
We've pieced it together and we've welded it 3 different times, I think it is.
Yes,
And the last time the welder said, "You're not gonna weld anything anymore," you know, so. And that tractor and that trailer gets used heavy. I mean, when you start thinking about the trees that get dropped into it, and everything else, the weight it carries.
Can we build that all in tractor
Yeah.
and trailer
Oh, yeah.
together? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You're gonna put an air conditioning cab in, right?
Air conditioning cab, air conditioning trailer, sure.
John, you said we had a couple of owners. Any comments?
Oh. Dwindled down, it just dwindled down to 1 because one's on the committee. Pete.
No owners' comments? All right. Anything else we have to discuss today?
Next meeting,
Schedule the next meeting, yeah.
That would be the 3rd Thursday again, which I think is right. Well, let's don't think. Let's come up with it.
The 9th, wait, 22nd, or the 15th, if you count the
Oh, that's right.
first.
No, it's an early month, yes, so it's gonna be the 15th. You can have it the 15th, or you can have it the 3rd, the 4th. Up to you all.
I would lean towards the 15th because
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna be
equal
out of town on
continuity.
the next one.
Keeps continuity. Keeping in mind now then, that the August meeting will be a budget for us, because the figures that the budget committee requests for their September 9th meeting, the facts and figures from each committee. So August will be our definite budget discussions in depth, if you will.
So we said the 15th, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn this month's meeting?
I make that motion.
Second?
Second,
Okay. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Pete.
thanks, Peter.